Hello, Jen here with a layout for you for Miranda's My Scrappy Life crop for January. So if you are new to my channel or just new to the online crops, Miranda hosts them monthly and they're just a fun couple of days. I think this year, if this one kind of works out really well, I think it's going to be Fridays, sort of Friday evenings, and then all day Saturday. And there are different challenges, like quite a few of them actually, kind of like an every hour thing. There's some live Zooms going on and just some lives, kind of, to start it off and to end it and get you all set for a fun weekend of crafting and scrapbooking and cropping. And yeah, lots of challenges. So everybody who kind of designs for Miranda picks a couple of those challenges and we create some fun inspiration to get that, creative mojo going for you, give you some ideas about what you could do for the challenge for yourself. And so, yeah, that is what we're doing today. So this is January's crop. And it is just, I'll give you the dates so that you kind of have reference. So if you're watching this back, and it's not actually the weekend anymore, it is the crop that it is January 2025 from the 17th to the 18th of the month. So you are definitely welcome to hop into her group. I'll leave the link down below. You can go back and play with all the challenges. If something catches your eye, by all means, please do. And it's a monthly thing, so you can come back every month and join us and have a ton of fun. So let me get to my challenge. My challenge is the Anything Goes challenge. And so, you know me, I am all about scraps. I am all about kits, and I am all about trying to get my stash used up. And so I am rolling all of that into this Anything Goes challenge. But genuinely, this is a challenge where you can just do what you want. What is your heart pulling you to do? Because, sometimes when you're cropping, you participate in these challenges and then people start posting all of their projects and you go, oh, that was a great idea. Oh, I wanted to try that. And so this is a little bit of space where you can go ahead and maybe pull some of those ideas, redo a challenge if you want. If there was something, maybe you created something and while you were doing that, you were getting ideas for, a way that you could do it again, go ahead and do that. Take this space to do whatever you want to do. So for me, I found one of my page kits from Build a Page, and it's actually in my current January How to Kill a Kit with Style kit, because the theme for the month of January is to use up our ALPHAS. And so we're kind of going with monthly product focuses and then quarterly themes. So the theme for January, February, March is to dive into our oldest stash. So really go back and start pulling through our stuff and find things. And then the product focus is ALPHAS. And I have been sitting on these basic gray ALPHAS. I've had them in my kit now. I want to say this is my second year, but it could actually be longer than that I've had these ALPHAS kind of in my kit every single month. And I put this page kit together probably in September. It wasn't August because I was away in August, so it could have been July actually, but somewhere in the second half of last year, I put this page kit together with these ALPHAS that I have from Basic Gray. The papers are also Basic Gray, except that background paper is Studio Calico, and I didn't love the pattern on those particular ALPHAS. They were this reddish green, definitely a Christmas vibe, but I felt like the red, I don't know, something about it didn't work for me. And so my goal, instead of just never using them and letting them sit in my stash, my goal was to find some way to creatively incorporate them into a layout where I could maybe get every single one of them used up, and also somehow cover it up or disguise the pattern that was on them, make it something that I liked better, that kind of worked a little bit better for me, because I do love the font and I love the sizes. I love the fact that there are capitals and I want to say minuscule. How do you say that in English? You know what I'm saying. Uppercase and lowercase. There you go. My French brain kicked in there for a second. Anyways, I love all of that, and I love that there were some punctuation in there, question mark, an ampersand, an at, that kind of thing. So I wanted to use up and just really kill the whole page. I just knew that if I used a few of them and didn't actually use as many as possible, I'm not sure that I would pull this back out again and finish the rest of the page, and it would just sit there probably in my stash, because I have this sort of sentimental attachment to them because they're basic gray. So my goal was to figure out a way to use up as much as possible, the whole page if I could, and then, I could be satisfied that it was killed and I used this product, and hopefully kind of give it a little bit of the honorary spot on a layout that it has deserved, because it's one of the oldest things in my stash. So my plan was to go ahead and cover it with some acrylic paint, and I honestly thought this was going to be an experiment. The paper it's matte and it is cardstock, but it has just that slight bit of coating on it. And so sometimes acrylic paints don't always sit nicely on that kind of thing. I wasn't sure if it would absorb into the letters, if it would just sit on top and then maybe flake off. I didn't really know. So I thought, I'm going to go ahead, I'll start with the acrylic paint, and if I need to play around a little bit and, find something out, experiment a little bit, build some layers, try texture paste, I was willing to go ahead and do that to try to make sure that these got covered sufficiently to where they didn't necessarily have that red that I didn't like. And some, lovely twist of fate, the acrylic paint worked beautifully. I didn't have to do more than one coat. You watched me kind of spread that across. I didn't make every single letter perfect. So some of them have a little brush stroke. They have sort of a variation in how concentrated the white is, so there is a little bit of color popping through in some of them. I think it worked really well. They're not flaking. I let them dry really, really well before I tried to pull them off of the backing. The backing held up, so the cardstock that they're made out of is thick enough that the acrylic paint didn't kind of soak in. I knew if I started to build layers that were too heavy and I got these too wet and saturated, it could wreck the adhesive on the back, and then you can't even pull them off of the back of the sheet. So I was sort of trying to be aware of that and brush across the acrylic paint just once, not go over it a whole bunch of times. That was my little guy sharing candy with me. But yes, I think it worked out really well. They covered well. The paint isn't flaking off. They look great, don't you think? And so I had this frame background paper. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but I forgot that I had also popped in these mirrored letters. Again, because the product focus was on ALPHAS, I had these lettered are these mirrored letters, and they're kind of like ALPHAS. You didn't have to use them as the words that they were arranged in. You could have rearranged the letters and come up with your own words. It was a whole sheet at one point, but I had just these 3 words left, and the one word was joy, then there was dream, and there was life. And they kind of go together. The whole sheet went together, but those 3 particular words I wasn't too sure went together in a meaningful way that I could think of for myself or any of my pictures, until my little guy, we were flipping through pictures and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for this layout, and I found this picture of him wearing these cool Shark Week sunglasses, and he goes, "Hey, who's that cool guy? He's the coolest looking guy around." And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I can use these letters and I can use these seemingly random words in the boxes of the frames and maybe just spell out a couple of words, but the rest can just be totally random. And as long as I kind of made sure that I had the word cool, which you see on that left-hand side, it kind of all fit in with him calling himself the coolest guy. So perfect. I thought this worked out great. It gave me a bit of a direction to go in. It gave me a story to tell. It gave me a title to put in there. So that's what I went with. So once all of those letters were completely dry, I picked out a couple words to spell. I put love twice because it's just easy to spell, and I knew I had enough space for that, and I knew I had enough letters for that. So I used love. I found the word beauty, cool, kind, joy, life, dream, just went for it. And then in some of those little spaces that there wasn't enough room to actually spell a word or even kind of put the letters in the right way, I just squished in as many letters as I could. And then I realized that there are some of the frames that are sort of falling off the page. So at first I was trying to get everything squished in there nicely, and I did have a couple letters left over, but then I realized those boxes or those frames that are falling off the page, I can have some letters falling off the page there too. So I did do that with a couple of them and kind of cut those off. So it looks like they should continue, and they've just been cut off all as one instead of, all the letters fitting in neatly, but the frame itself kind of falls off the page. And I ended up using all of the letters except I think I have a G left over, and I think I have a capital N. Either a capital N or a capital M left over. And then I didn't use any of the numbers. There are just one number of each 1 through 9 and a 0. I didn't use those, but those I actually find a lot easier to use when you're putting dates and stuff on things, that sometimes just having some extra numbers, that's fine. It was the letters that I knew I wasn't going to be able to use probably unless I did something like this. And then I also used all of the little punctuations. So some periods and some commas, and there's some parentheses in there, and those just kind of filled in the spaces too. So I think this turned out really, really cool. I think that the mirror words help your eye to kind of realize that there are actual spelled words on the layout. And then once you can see that, you can pick out the other words that are just in the alphas a lot easier. And then I did a little bit of some mist, some of the Tim Holtz spritz. I did gold in the boxes or in the frames that didn't have the mirrors, and then I did blue on those frames that did have mirrors, so it kind of sets them apart a little bit too. And I concentrated my little splatters around the words that were spelled out, so again, it helps to make them pop a little bit. And then also in that kit, I had some doilies, so I went ahead and kind of crumpled those up a little bit. I fussy cut some of those flowers from another basic gray paper. I used one of the basic gray papers in behind the frame where I put my little guy's photo. So I actually cut out around that and made a bit of a border, and then cut that frame out nice and close so you could see that blue paper popping out from behind the frame. Crinkled that up a little bit, kind of roughed it up, I used some of the gold Tim Holtz spritz to run around the edge, so it just stood out a little bit better. I did not go overboard with the embellishing because the letters kind of are the embellishment. That's, the main thing that I was trying to accomplish was get those letters used up. And so here you can actually see some of those other pages that I have from Basic Gray. I bought this pack that was all these cardstock alphas that corresponded to different Basic Gray collections, and I've just been holding on to them, especially when Basic Gray stopped making paper products. I kind of started to hoard them a little bit, stash them away, and I didn't want to use them up, and now I want them used up. Why do I have them if I'm not going to use them? So they've been in my How to Kill a Kit for quite a while. And I'm glad that I'm getting them used up. So I basically killed that entire alpha section. It was just one half of one of those 12 by 12 sheets. And I can't remember, because they weren't actually written on the alphas, I can't remember what collection they went with, but it was one of their Christmas ones. And then, I also threw in some doilies. I threw in some flat backed, kind of like a stone, polished stone, little hearts in a bunch of different colors. I thought I could probably pull out some nice colors that matched some of these colors in the Basic Gray collection, which I did here. I got some blue ones, and I have those rhinestones. They're kind of black, and then the white is starting to tarnish a little bit, so it almost has a bit of a vintagey yellow to it. It was also something that I thought, if I can't get some of these used up, I'm not keeping them. They're not really my style. They're not something I tend to grab all that often. But I thought the way that they were tarnishing a little bit actually worked really well with the feel and the color of this Basic Gray collection. So I got a few of them anyways used, so I think that's great. And I even have a little bit of journaling on here too, just, the quote that he said that kind of inspired the whole thing. So that worked out really well, and I love how this layout turned out. And I hope you guys do too. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please check out all the links below. Follow along, play along with our crop. Let me know if you do. I'd love to see what you create for an Anything Goes challenge. And also, please check me out in all of my other socials. I would love to chat with you there. I'm on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook too, and as well as all the other creators for this month's crop. So I will leave you with that. If you have any questions, please leave them for me down below. And hope you're all having a lovely weekend. We will talk to you again soon. So until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.
Bye. Thanks to me. To my channel.